Okay, it's recording.
Okay, cool. So, according to the homework that we're supposed to do, we actually have to talk about the, whatever experiment that we would like to do for the, for plate tectonics.
Yeah. I'm just going to pull up the assignment again really quick. Did you have any thoughts?
Because based on what we've, doing the reading on the Pearson online textbook thing, what I've read so far, it's just about the Wagner theory, and then I feel like the experiment is more of challenging us to actually put that theory to the test, and so it would have been just testing the 4 different proofs that he had. So that would be the glacier deposits that there are on different continents, as well as the fossils found on different continents, as well as the mountain ranges, to see similarities in possibly the chemical or structural makeup of the rock samples. And what's the last one? I can't remember the last one though. Look at my notes. So probably just looking at the cold swamps, along the equator. So basically look at coal samples as well. So and of course, according to the assignment, it says you have unlimited time, unlimited amount of money to use at your disposal. So depends on what you want to start off at first, and work towards all those 4 different proofs, and to see if you actually believe that it would actually prove the plate tectonic theory.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. Do you want to so in the assignment it says we need to copy and paste.
It says that we have to for one, do a group meeting, record our answers on the document for the meeting.
Right.
And then come up with a series of experiments we'd like to conduct on the theory of plate tectonics, as well as paste the Zoom meeting link on the Word document and list those who attended, and then save the group meeting and submit it online. So you just have so since you record it, you would possibly be the one to submit everything. So I think it's best if we do it on a Google Doc, so that we can actually add things and take things off.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it'd be way easier if you typed out what you wanted to say too.
Right.
And we can each type that out. And even if Emily, I know it's her husband's birthday and everything, so I don't know if she'd want to just type something up so we could add it.
Okay.
Or whatever. I don't really know what to do about that.
It mentions whoever participated in this thing, so I obviously would.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. Okay. Well, we gotta it does have to be for at least 45 minutes.
Yeah, I think we can do a good time about it.
We make it stretch. It's definitely easier to stretch that time when we have more people in the meeting, but that's okay. Well, I thought it was really cool. I kind of really enjoyed this week's studies and everything. I've taken some other. What's your major?
I'm doing food science, but I'm actually thinking of changing into a geology major, because
that's sweet.
Because originally my plan for career-wise was to actually get in the aviation industry, and so I was for some reason I was food science, and I was after taking intro to food science for one day, the first day, I was I like food, but it's not something I could do for the rest of my life, so the next 5 years at least. So so I decided to sign up for a class, but the only class that I could take, because there are other classes, because I'm a freshman. This is my second week here. And so Like
Oh, you're
everything
like
is
first semester?
yes.
Dang, this is my last semester. That's so funny.
I just realized that depending on the way that the courses are numbered, like I'm actually I don't know if I'm supposed to say like I'm not supposed to be in this class, but then like after looking at the whole syllabus and doing part of the assignments already, I was like, this is pretty advanced already. And then I was looking,
Really?
oh gosh. So this like after this week, I'm like really trying to focus on cleaning up everything that I've been missing on the assignments and whatnot. So I was just like, I
Right.
already signed up. I can't back out now. So
Are you done like foundation classes and everything?
no, the things that because I'm an international student and I didn't take the SATs or ACTs, I'm being forced to actually take the foundation classes for the foundation classes. So all the other classes that most freshmen can take, I can't do that yet. I have to get the other classes out of the way first before I can do that. So that's kind of the reason why, because there's not many students taking those classes. So there's like only one class at one time. So I can take the other geology class in like an actual classroom setting. So I had to do it online.
Oh, that's such a bummer. I'm so sorry.
It's
I'm
okay.
international too. I'm from Canada. That's where I am right now. I'm just home. This is my technically last semester before I student teach. I'm an elementary education with a science emphasis major. So this is an extra class that I had to take because of accreditation and all that junk, but it really sucked. There was a huge hit on the education department, and it actually
Really?
hit some of my other friends even more. Science wasn't even that bad compared to like language arts majors and social studies majors that had to take extra. Huge
Uh-huh.
bummer. But I've taken, I feel like a couple classes that helped prepare me for this was natural disasters. So as like a foundation science class, I highly recommend you take that one, especially if you're thinking of going into geology.
Right.
It's like it's really, really cool.
So
Um,
natural disaster one?
yeah,
Okay,
I
okay.
think it's FDSCI 201.
DSCI.
I think it's 201, but you can like definitely just look at a course catalog and double check on that one.
Yeah.
But that one definitely, it just like talks about natural disasters basically, but it also helps like tie in plate tectonics a lot.
Right, okay.
Anyways, but I really liked learning about this just because I have like a little bit of background going into this course in some geology.
Mm-hmm.
I just think plate tectonics are so cool. I'm kind of like a rock nerd now. After these earth science courses I've taken, I just like, oh, rocks are so cool. But everyone's like, you used to be cool, Aubrey. Like, why are you so lame now? Like, leave me alone. Um, but I love just like learning about earth science. And I love how like all the other sciences tie into it, like chemistry, biology,
Yeah.
especially biology, like how plate tectonics and life are kind of related.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some really cool posts by some people um, in my group. I think you actually might be in my group too, for like when we post our geo journals and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. I have
But
really
there
been
was
on
some
organizing myself for the conference. Because like never taken any online classes. First online class I've had. And then I'm just like still learning how to use Canvas as well. So
right.
I'm just
Yeah.
yeah,
It's all
everything's such a mess.
kind of crazy. I feel for you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Totally feel for you. I I took an online course my very first semester. Is actually like my main foundation one for education, and it like wrecked me. I was like, I hate college.
Right.
um, but I like really liked um I don't yeah, I just think it's like really cool. And so like an experiment I was kind of thinking about, actually thought about it in the shower because I have my most profound thoughts there. But a cool thought I had was like, I wonder how like heat would play more into plate tectonics, like whether like the heat below the earth. I've obviously I feel like while I was thinking about it, I thought like, oh well, if the interior of the earth was cooling, I feel like the um like plate tectonics might slow down because
Mm-hmm.
of convection. convection and everything, especially like subduction with convergent plate boundaries, like the rate that it melted by would be much slower. But then I also thought, like, well, if the interior of the Earth was heated, like, would plate tectonics speed up, or like, what would happen? So I thought, like, oh, that would be cool to figure out. But then I'm like, oh, but what about heat, like, to the exterior of the Earth? Because I was thinking, like, oh, how does like global warming play into this and stuff? I don't know. So I just like would like to create like some kind of model of the Earth,
Right.
but focusing on like heat in plate
Okay.
tectonics and seeing how either interior heat or exterior heat or cooling plays into that. Like if like the interior of the Earth was still at the same temperature it is now, at this like constant thing, but let's say the exterior of the Earth was like frozen,
Yeah.
like an ice age kind of thing, like what would that do?
All right. I'm writing everything down. Hold on, just give me a second.
Oh, you're good. Was that
I
what
also,
you emailed, the Google Doc?
yeah, I just sent you the email. So if you want to go on and add stuff to it as well.
Sounds good.
Yeah, interior, exterior, and how would it affect the process of the speed of the tectonic,
Like yeah, the processes, like plate tectonic processes. Sorry, I actually have a cold right now, so I'm just gonna blow it out.
It's all right. It's all right.
Oh, man.
Honestly, how do we say it? We don't really know much about the core of the Earth's mantle. We just know that there's a mantle. It's like a convection, like it's like boiling water basically, but it's like slow boiling water. It's like a lava lamp basically. It works slowly like that. And I don't really remember if there's actually any theory that I've heard. Like there is a theory of just like, our core is like just a solid piece of metal, and then yeah, that's about it. But
the inner core and the outer
yeah,
core.
honestly, but I think like global warming doesn't really affect the process at all, to some degree, because like it takes a lot of heat to actually cause the plates to actually melt. And in terms of yeah, so I mean, like with global warming, our changes in our climate isn't real. I don't think it's really affecting the plates in general.
No.
That's just what I think. But of course, like ice age definitely has the effect on like an impact on like how fast the magma is cooling when it comes to the surface.
Yeah. So I was just thinking, yeah. Those are just my thoughts. I was like, oh, it'd be cool to just like conduct some kind of experiment to see
No, I got
exactly like what kind of effects, and like with the disasters too, like like a volcano arc forming, like how would that, or an island arc forming, or one of like something like that with a convergent boundary, like how would that play into that? I don't know.
Well, yeah, like if you take a piece of paper, sometimes like the way that I understand it is like if you have one point where it's like you stick your finger on it where it's like solid, like really hard, and then you just push another finger or some other force, it like kind of like crumples differently in that form. So I think like plate tectonics are kind of like that a bit, and so it depends on it also depends on like what kind of materials, like how soft the so-called igneous rocks, that assuming that the edges of the plates are made of. So then it affects also how easy it is to give into the force, and then it causes the different shapes of the mountain ranges as well. So
it's true. It's so cool. I just drove through Jasper National Park and Banff National Park up here in Canada to go to my brother's wedding in Alberta, and it was just like so gorgeous. I was totally nerding out. I was like, look at those mountains, they're so cool. Oh my goodness, I know what kind of rock that is. it was just so cool, and it got me like even more interested in learning like just exactly what events helped those form. Or so like
Mm-hmm.
I want to like just read about it or something.
Right.
We'll see when that actually happens.
Uh-huh.
On top of homework and jobs, but
Right.
that's cool. I like your insight though. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
I'm just like I just remember because like when I was in high school I took a geography class, so that's like slightly different. It's more of like the exterior of the earth, but then like I remember bits and pieces from like elementary school of like learning about geology a little bit. So oh shoot, oh no, okay, all right,
Are you okay?
yeah, because like different time zones, I have people from like different time zones and then they call on Skype in a group chat and I'm just like
Oh, you're
okay,
good.
yeah. So for like, do you actually want to do experiments that are like trying to prove the plate tectonics or like test another theory, or like just I don't know, kind of like what they like to call play God a little bit, and then just like see if like if you want to create a planet, how would you do it differently? Are you going to test the laws of physics or something like that, or chemistry?
Yeah, it's more like so like my annotated bibliography is actually on it's a really cool word, tectonophysics.
Okay.
So it's the study of, well, mostly it's a branch of geophysics,
Mm-hmm.
and its study is focused more on tectonic processes, like
Mm-hmm.
plate tectonic processes, and um, kind of like along the lines of like my idea of the experiment, just how physics plays more into plate tectonics with rock processes, uh, everything. um, yeah, I don't know. It's just it's really cool to read about. It's like, oh,
Okay.
had a lot of like aha moments.
Uh-huh.
Let me just go to that really quick. But yeah, basically studying about the boundaries, like something, an article I read, it was like published in 1995 and somebody commented and was like, this is really interesting, but like maybe you should find something that's more like relevant to today. And I was like, fair enough.
Yeah, so I think I was like reading this one article by National Geographic not too recently, and it was about like it is about plate tectonics, and it's about like people getting really excited about possibly a new continent, and it's has to do with New Zealand. I don't know if you've actually heard about that, but then like
No.
they say that there's a possibility because there's a lot more studies that need to be conducted, and they say that there's a possibility that New Zealand is actually in of itself like a small continent. It's just a lot more submerged underneath water and whatnot. So then that's going to change like a lot of things about like plate tectonics in general, like history and like the way that you're going to teach about it. And then like politically, it's going to affect a lot of things as well as like distribution of resources and laying claims to like like the boundaries in general. So I think that was kind of interesting. So like they say that if it is actually true, I think it's going to be called like New Zealandia or something like that. So, I'm not too sure, but
No, I gotta look that up. That's interesting.
yeah.
I love New Zealand. I have lots of family there, and I went there when I was a bit younger, and
Yeah.
I like loved it. But that's so funny. They hate Australia so much, and that's just like great.
It's funny. It's really funny.
Yeah, like just how much they hate each other. It's like I was in the airport the other day, and these two women who were flying. Oh, this was a couple of weeks ago when I was flying home from school in April. But these two women, they like both clearly had accents. I could hear like a little bit of a difference, but they like it was just like a conversation I kind of like heard / observed as we were lining up to get on the plane. But so it's like they're just chatting with somebody else. Like, you know how people just randomly like talk to each other while they're in line, but that was happening, and Well, he's like, oh, are you where are you from? She's like, oh, I'm a Kiwi. You Aussie? She's like,
Ooh.
yeah. And they're like, oh, and then kind of just like ignored each other after that. I was like, no way, that's so weird.
Dang.
That's so funny. But that's so cool. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
One
So,
of one
because
of the
like,
art. Oh, go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm trying to look for the article right now.
Okay, so one of the articles the article that was really old that I was reading, but I actually found some guy was kind of looking at a similar thing, and it was um a more relevant article. Like just last year, I was like, "Thank you, you're awesome," but it was talking about
Oh, I found it.
oh
Okay. Sorry, I'm just gonna send you the thing
yeah.
on the document. So,
Oh,
yeah,
thanks.
yeah.
Oh, also, I just in the Google Doc you sent to me, but it was view only.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but if you
Um,
just, I sent you a request to edit, so you can just get
okay.
it
So
over.
I'll just fix it. Can edit. Okay. Try again.
Just, yeah, we're good.
Okay. Cool. And then I will just put a comment.
Where was it?
Okay. So the comment, yeah, so that's the link to the Zealandia continent tectonic research and discovery. And it's
Cool.
from, yeah, it's with National Geographic. So I think it's pretty interesting as well. So
That's sweet.
yeah,
Okay.
because like more than half of the so-called, like if it is actually continent, it's gonna be like
Mhm.
underwater, the majority of it, but it's
Yeah.
definitely gonna like cause a lot more political problems against Australia if they actually really do hate each other and
Oh yeah.
whatnot. But then that also
And it,
gives them more like political influence around as well. So
well, I'm just checking really quick to see if New Zealand is still in the British Commonwealth, because that could get even more messy.
oh, that's
Because I'm
true.
quite sure Australia isn't anymore. They have a very strong, steadfast relationship. Okay, no. In 1907. Oh, wait. New Zealand is a dominion within the British Empire.
Yeah, so it was like colonized just like Australia was as well.
Yeah.
So,
Trying to see, like, when they gained independence. Or if
earthquakes
they
and
did.
natural features of New Zealand. Deformation of New Zealand. They call
Oh,
it.
1970s, they became an independent country.
Oh, that's really recent actually. So
That is, like, super recent, so we'll see what happens. That's so cool. The Earth is just so amazing. Interesting.
funny thing is that it actually happens past our lifetime.
Yeah.
Squashing, stretching, rotating, and twisting is occurring in the plate boundary zone all the time, even during the time periods between major earthquakes. Okay, so I'm reading a different on a different site that
Okay.
New Zealand is basically a deformed piece of land because there's constant quakes, there's like tsunamis, there's like births of new volcanoes and what.
Everything.
Yeah, so basically because it's stuck in that certain area where all the other continents are rubbing against it and like oceanic plates are like pushing and pulling and whatnot, it's basically a deformed piece of land.
It's so small. Like, it's so tiny.
Yeah, but then when you think about it, the East African Rift is also quite small and it's going to be a very small continent as well.
That
So,
is true. That's true.
yeah.
Yeah. That was really interesting to read about too. Because I was oh, things.
Because so I didn't really know what to write about for like the weekly GeoJournal thing, so that got me
Right.
thinking about, because like I remember thinking about the how when Ethiopia breaks off along with a bit of Madagascar along with it's just gonna like it's gonna be a huge piece of not only is it a huge piece of land, but then like the valley in between is actually sinking at the same time, and then you have like rising sea levels that are going to be moving in to actually cause like to a new sea, and then eventually a new ocean is going to be formed as like the process continues. And then you think about California, because that's a transforming fault.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
a transform fault.
yeah. And so like I don't know how California is gonna like split or break or whatnot, but it's just constantly rubbing against the main continent and whatnot. So
Yeah. Well, it is. They are wrong when they say it's going to sink into the ocean, because that's not what's going to happen. But
for California,
yeah, it's not going to fall off into the ocean.
oh no, that's like the Ice Age movie kind of like theory, whatnot.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really cool
yeah.
to think about. Are you?
Yeah.
So you're originally from Hong Kong?
I'm from Hong Kong.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I met a lot of people from Hong Kong, but your English is like insanely good. Like you sound like you're from North America, actually.
I actually went to an international school, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, but it's so crazy to think about. And sometimes I think like, oh, plate tectonics don't really affect like where I live, or like, oh, there's nothing exciting because of plate tectonics where I live. But I know, because when people think of Canada, they don't really think of plate tectonics.
Because there's not much that really affects Canada apart from like.
No, there's not a ton. There's down south, like closer to Washington, and then way up north closer to Alaska. It's much more affected by those plate boundaries there, with earthquakes and some volcanoes. We haven't had a volcano in Canada in a very long time.
Well,
But
I mean, if the Yellowstone, Wyoming area decides to become active, like more than a quarter of the states is going to be gone. So.
Oh, it's like so much. I watched. So I took another geology class called Geology 260, and it was more like kind of like teaching geology. Like some of it had to do with that, but it was just an awesome class. Amazing teacher. If you want to take geology classes, take them from Dr. Sjoblom. You spell it Sjoblom.
Okay.
She is phenomenal. I love that woman. She's so amazing. She like kind of changed my life. I'm like, oh, do I want to like go get my master's in like geology? Her PhD's in volcanoes. Like she's so cool. But I was like looking at it more, and I found like for my GeoJournal for like this past week, I actually found this really cool article about the Endeavor. And so what the Endeavor is there is the what's it called? The oceanic ridge between the Juan de Fuca and the Pacific plates. And the deepest part of that ridge is called the Endeavor. And
it's that submarine that they tried to get to go down to like take samples and map out the bottom part as much as they can actually.
So that's not the article I was looking at, but I have heard of that too. But with in this article, it was talking about, and this has a lot to do, this is kind of like, oh, this is a lot like a whole bunch of other oceanic ridges that I've learned about. But at the very, very bottom, the very bottom, especially the bottom of the Endeavor, the what's it called? The environment it creates down there, or the conditions of it, are much more like Archean, which is like so cool.
Archean as in like As in
Like,
like ancient, or basic, or like really basic, like the basic of like what the
mhm,
start of
like
like forming kind
very
of.
extreme. Yeah. So like
Oh.
it was when the Earth, like during the Archean period, it was the most like extreme environment on Earth that only certain kinds of
Like,
bacteria could
oh.
like exist basically, and then it slowly changed. But we don't really have like Archean bacteria living here on the Earth that that scientists know of, because the Earth is so far past that point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's like kind of just
Became
compare it to the
isolated.
Archean period. Yeah.
Okay.
But it was so cool because the Earth down there are these huge vents down there. The Earth is just like blowing steam up into the ocean there,
With like
and
tube worms around it and whatnot.
yeah. But in the main around the main vent, the only thing that lives down there are tube worms. Like that's the only thing that can live down there are these like tiny tube worms. They're like prehistoric. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
that's so cool. That's like right near Canada. But that actually is a lot like I forget where it is, but I took like this evolution course as a foundation science course from Brother Griffith. He's also an amazing teacher
Okay.
in the science department. He's definitely more biology. He specializes in like evolution and stuff.
Okay.
But the class is called Neanderthals and Other Successes. And it was just a really cool class. But in it, we learned about these vents down at the bottom of the ocean. And it's like so deep. This might be in the Mariana Trench, actually, which would make a lot of sense because that thing is just so deep.
Right,
um,
right.
but the water around it is more like cytoplasm than actual water, which is
What's
just like so crazy.
wait,
It's
what side
so
of
cool. So cytoplasm is the like kind of the liquid substance that fills a cell. You know how it has like there's the
okay.
nucleus and the
Uh,
cytoplasm is like the filler. And
right.
so the water down there is more like cytoplasm than water.
So it's not
Which
like even like salt water at all, like not that kind of stuff.
no, it's like so crazy. And it's just around those vents. I have to like find the article or something, but it's just like so cool and mind blowing.
Do you
And
think that's like partly because like you said like only like tube worms and like certain kind of bacteria can actually live in that, and because there's like a large amount of bacteria surrounding those vents that it makes the water so thick, or it, like the space just like gets taken up by the bacteria itself, so it seems like it's actually just like cytoplasm. Do you think that's like a possibility?
so they actually like were looking at it and they took samples of it and it is like cytoplasm. And they're linking that kind of because it was like an evolution class to like the building blocks of life kind of
Right.
things, like the Big Bang and then how the first like life forms were in water and then et cetera, et cetera. But I thought it was just like so cool how like that's actually there. Like that kind of like liquid is in the ocean right now in
Mhm.
these like really extreme areas. I don't know, it was just like really cool. But so I don't know, like and so like what during this week it just like all came rushing back, like what I've been studying in the past. I'm just like, oh, science is so cool. But
It is.
so I was definitely interested in like that heat thing for an experiment.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then um, another thought I had for an experiment
Right.
is I forget the other word, but there was catastrophism
Mm-hmm.
versus uniformitarianism. That was the other one.
Okay. So, like, possibly, like, catastrophism is like you said again, like build a scale model kind of like thing. And then just seeing like what different things that you can do to a piece of land to see like what it would do.
Mm.
But like if we did that, what exactly are you trying to figure out or
Mm. So, some scientists believe that like the Red Sea,
uh-huh.
this is it was like kind of an old study. That was like the 1995 one that I was talking about, and I need to find something like more current. But some of them believe that the Red Sea was formed like through catastrophism. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but that was in our reading, but it was like the very sudden events that happened. And they think it happened like in two main events, and the second like big main event started plate tectonics around there. I'm like, that's kind of interesting to
do
like
you think
look more
it's the
into.
same with, like the thing at Pompeii?
You mean the volcano there?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I did, yeah, I studied about that volcano natural disasters. You get to study about that one. It's so crazy. Like I knew about Pompeii and the
Mm-hmm.
volcano there. I
Right.
think is it the Voyant? I can't remember the name of it. But it was like so cool to study how that like it totally changed the landscape really suddenly. And like that totally happens. With
It's kind of the same thing with Mount St. Helens as well.
I think
Because
so, yeah.
yeah, because like there was like serious like ash everywhere that actually
Uh-huh.
like, got like, blown all the way to Japan, and then that caused like a lot of problems in like terms of people flying through the ash
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah,
so
a lot of planes crashed. And there was also, oh, it was like in the early-ish 1800s. But this is one of the coolest things I learned in that class about a volcano is I have to look up what volcano that was. Um, it was a volcano in Indonesia, I think. Oh, Tambora. Okay, Mount Tambora. This volcano, like early 1800s, nobody really knew about erupting volcanoes at this time because they usually happened in very isolated places that people didn't really know about. But this volcano killed so many people. 1815. It killed, it destroyed the entire island of Sumbawa in Indonesia. It also, the ash that went into the air, it created in the United States, it was like the coldest winter ever. Oh, the year without summer. That's what it's like known by now. But what happened is the ash totally like created, it just basically filled um the air and the atmosphere with aerosols, just things that blocked sunlight. And they didn't have a summer. They had like snow blizzards in the winter, and it was insane. And people were dying from like famines because all their crops failed, and they were freezing to death, like all over the earth and everything. And it was just like so cool. And um, that is, are you a member?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that event, this is what was like even more just like, pfft. But that event, um, Joseph Smith's family was actually living in Vermont, or
Oh,
I think, yeah, Vermont when he was younger around that time. And that event, after that awful summer when their crops failed, that's when Joseph Smith Sr. decided that he needed to move his family to New York, just like further south. And it was just like, what? That's just like really cool to me. But that was like an insane event that changed so much. I'm not really sure. Well, I mean, like, okay, yeah, it did change a lot. I'm not really sure with like landscape how much it changed too.
definitely would have actually changed the landscape a lot because like
Mm,
eventually the ash would have actually settled down everywhere on the planet, and so
that's true.
that would have like caused a lot more fertile land to some degree or acidic soil. So like certain things would grow, certain things would not grow, and then that would also change the landscape, because like if you don't have plants in a certain area and it's just like loose soil, then of course there's going to be like erosion, there's going to be like landslides and
That's true.
so it's like it's a chain reaction basically. So
Uh-huh. And if you look at pictures of Sumbawa, where it happened before, it's like these beautiful islands now. They're like so green and luscious. I know, it's so cool. So, there are definitely natural disasters that change everything very suddenly, but also with plate tectonics, just like plates moving.
right.
Like they're saying that the Red Sea was formed by just like suddenly like moving and like those two plates spreading apart quite suddenly. But it would be I'd be really interested to experiment and see what kind of events would take place if those things, like let's say with the African ridge right there, what's it called? Is it just called the African
Rift?
Yeah, the rift. Sorry. If the rift was all of a sudden like, if it happened like very suddenly instead of slowly like it is now, like what would happen? I feel like
the way that the rate is actually, there's like sudden splits sometimes.
Okay.
I think it's actually happening a lot quicker than, like, if we're talking about average speeds of like plate tectonics having like different rates of movement. I think it's actually a lot quicker than most phenomena.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's definitely like a plateau kind of like valley in between certain areas, and so it depends on like how far you go and where you go along the continent, but it definitely is happening. And I guess like based on what you said about the Red Sea, I think it's like very happening kind of like the Red Sea basically, but yeah, it's I don't know how long it will take for it to actually happen before there's actually like a body of water moving in between Africa and East Africa and then causing like it to be like an actual sea. So
right.
But definitely there's gonna be a lot of political and issues, as well as distribution of resources and whatnot, because like
that's true. That is really true. Isn't it it interests me so much. Like it's how like the earth is just naturally doing its thing, but humans are the ones that are like bring all the politics into it and create something like so.
We have boundaries. We create boundaries.
Yeah,
we put labels on a lot of things. That's the problem.
That's true. Yeah.
But like also when you think about it, like as you were talking about like the Mariana Trench and whatnot, that got me thinking about like the Antarctic continent, because like you know how like Antarctica is basically a piece of ice, but then underneath there's like a landmass, right? But then in certain areas there's also like water underneath the ice, so it's like not frozen, and then there's like life under there as well. And then like in between like bits of like the ice, there's also like these very archaic organisms that are frozen. So like I would like to know like more about Antarctica and like how it's really being affected right now, apart from global warming, because like what everyone likes to focus on is like the global warming part, and but there's like not much that really happens thus far with it's any movement or volcanoes or any activity in general. I don't know if it's like in a spot where it just nothing happens, because like I feel like at the poles there's really nothing that happens as far as I know. And so
that is true. When I was thinking of like where would the safest place to live on Earth be, I was like, well, there's the poles, but they're also so freaking cold. I don't think I'd be able to survive. So
well, the thing is like because if you live at the pole, and then eventually with global warming, and as it warms up, you're going to be exposed to a lot more different viruses and diseases
that's true.
That you're just not ready to deal with yet. And so then you're like, you know, it might seem the best decision at the time, but eventually you're just like to like die.
Yeah, that's true. Like, oh, die from a volcano, which can happen quite suddenly, or die slowly from some kind of disease
Yeah, that you
slash recent death.
that no one knows about, that hasn't existed for like a millennia, you
Yeah,
know.
no thanks. Oh.
Or it's like death by like certain organisms that you don't know existed down there. It's
Mhm.
that, you know. And then
Yeah,
like
I think that could be another really cool experiment, though, is that judging by plate tectonics, what would be the safest place to live on Earth?
oh, that would be interesting to figure out as well. No, but I also want to know like how we can actually track like hotspots, because like it's so odd to like suddenly have one weird hotspot on the planet, whereas everywhere else there's like um convection movements. You know like what I'm talking about by that
Yeah.
like thing.
Mhm.
So like it's consistent. Like I would say like overall, but like how do you actually track those certain spots? And then we could utilize those things for like geothermal energy, or say like um for other purposes, maybe like you said about like finding the safest spots to live on or at, you know.
Yeah, I like that. Like seeing if hotspots can be used for geothermal energy.
Yeah, because well, there's already that thing. Like I think in like yeah, definitely Iceland. That's like a hotspot area. So basically, they have a few chain islands already.
Iceland is so awesome.
Hawaii is another place, yes. And
They got
so
it together.
yeah, in Iceland they've done really well in using the geothermal energy in that sense. And then like there's okay, so I actually have a bucket list, and so like one of the things that I wanted to do was like there's this area where you can actually go diving, and you can actually dive in between both I think it was like the Eurasian, well, the European and the American. It's like you're just diving and swimming in between these two plate tectonics, which is really cool. And I was like, it'd be so cool to
That's
go.
really cool. Ah, that's so cool. I like kind of I love water, but also like staring into like the deep ocean is kind of like freaky. I'm just like, it never ends.
You know like the what is the Bucket List family? Do you know them?
No. Oh.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Do they have a YouTube channel?
yes, they do, and they also have
Okay,
an
I feel
Instagram.
like I've
Yeah.
watched some before.
Yeah. So I saw this one video that they had of like them going to the blue hole, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So like I understand like the blue hole like was something kind of like originally like a sinkhole, right? Basically.
Okay, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, the blue hole.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I didn't read too much into like about the blue hole, but from what I gather, I think it was like a sinkhole basically, right?
I just found the video. 5-year-old free dives the blue hole.
Yeah, basically. That was really freaky. Like bring your whole family down to that. I was like, ah,
Oh.
that's crazy.
I would totally swim with sharks though. I love sharks. They're so cool. That's so cool though. Ah, that would be amazing.
Hmm.
The Earth is just really cool. I just want to like explore all of it.
Yeah. Oh, and I also read somewhere like there, like for Hawaii, there's this one island, like with the way that the like after the volcano, like it used to be a volcano at some point, but then it developed into like the materials at that point when it was expelled from like the like from deep in the earth into like this igneous kind of like island whatnot. Like the materials are starting to like erode away really quickly because it's a very weak piece of like igneous kind of rock. I don't remember in detail, but I just remember reading something about that, and that was like really interesting because like eventually a certain time that island's going to completely disappear because of erosion.
I wonder if it's scoria or
Maybe.
pumice. Those so scoria and pumice are really weak. Like you can crumble them in your hands. Like we use pumice. Pumice like just dissolves in water. We use it to like scrub rings out of toilets kind of thing. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like it just dissolves. They're so weak, but it's mostly because of all the air bubbles in them, but also how they've cooled. That's really cool. Dang. I've just become like, after studying all this geology stuff, and especially about like mass wasting, like landslides and everything, or just like those kind of natural disasters that have a lot to do with the kinds of rocks that have formed. I'm just so like more conscious of like, okay, where do I actually want to live? Like, okay, what's under the soil? I need to know now. Like,
I feel like if you when you decide to buy your own like land or like your own home, you are gonna be so picky about everything about the foundations and the surroundings.
totally.
You're gonna
Yeah,
be like you're not gonna be like concerned about like what kind of like sinks that you have inside. You're gonna be like constantly asking the real estate agent, why is this here? Where, like, shouldn't you actually be doing this instead or something like that?
yeah, like it's not gonna matter what kind of sink I have if my home is gonna fall into a sinkhole 2 years later.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, so I just like personally never want to buy a home in California, not because of like the earthquakes and stuff that happen there, but because they overpump their groundwater, and so they deal with a lot of like sinkholes and everything, and just everything's sinking down. They also like carve into mountainsides and build apartment complexes that are just, once a landslide, always a landslide. You'll hear that quite a few times in geology, but once a landslide has happened, it will always happen again. And nobody in California has learned that lesson yet, and it's like so frustrating. Like, why are you building houses there? Like, oh, it's fine, we cleaned up and now everyone's ready to move in. Okay, thanks. And it's just,
Note to self, never live in California now.
it's like, nah, it's like not everywhere, but a lot of places.
Fair enough.
They just have no clean water. They've like are overusing their fresh water supply, but whatever. And dump trash into the ocean. It's fine. Anyways, so those are things I've been interested in to study about, and it's just like, it's so cool. I want my students to have these kind of questions. Like, I just love science so much because it's so interesting and cool, and I want to like teach kids about it. I just love teaching too. And so I'm hoping that when I do teach, my students will have these kinds of questions.
Well, I think it like, because the thing that's difficult to do with students is that some students don't do well in school, so that they're unable to actually really enjoy science, because science is more of like the process instead of instead of the end goal. It's more
That's
about
true.
Yeah, and like with only 1 hour per day to do that, it's really hard to engage someone and then curriculum inside with it as well.
Yeah,
so I think
so sad.
Yeah. So it's just it's really about how you can manipulate the curriculum into your advantage to get the kids to actually start enjoying science.
Totally. It's like, it's all about integration. If you think about it, like, all units can be integrated really easily. You could study science or social studies and easily integrate language arts into it. You can integrate like reading, writing, storytelling, like all of those things. And math definitely plays a huge role in science. Like, oh my goodness, take a physics class. You will be pulling your hair out because of all the math you have to do with it. Even in some geology, there's like math too. So teachers are crazy. So is the education.
Well, I think the problem with the education system in general, at least in America, is that everything is like in its own like filing cabinet. There's no.
I'm in a school meeting. Sorry, it's my little brother.
So like everything is in its own filing cabinet, and there's no way that you can actually like really mix them up unless you actually come to that conclusion yourself, or like you try to figure something out and like you actually dive like deep into like the things. 'Cause like in school, it's just like, of course, it's building your own foundations, but then at the same time, you're also very limited in whatever it is being taught. So
totally true.
Yeah.
I agree. Dang. Anything else for this week?
In terms of this assignment or
yeah, in terms of this assignment.
if I look back at it, so we're basically supposed to test the theory of plate tectonics, and so so I feel like some of the stuff that we mentioned is like not really testing it, but then like just like, oh,
We
let's
can
see what
reword it.
happened. Yeah,
We can reword a lot of it and like
that's true.
summarize some of it so it'll totally play in.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay, so far we've just discussed about the model focusing on the exterior heat and interior heat, and you would like to figure out how he would actually affect the speed of the plate tectonic process, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Or even
how
like it would extreme heat like stop it or speed it up enormously, I'm wondering.
okay.
Or would it'd probably just blow up the earth, let's be honest. Just explode.
Well, I wouldn't say explode. I mean, like heat does tend to expand things.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
would extreme heat cause a complete stop to the process or just cause drastic catastrophes? Cool. I can't spell.
You're totally fine. I don't even know how to spell that word properly most of the time.
That's the thing. You know, professional mathematicians or scientists are very bad at spelling. That's what I found out.
Also, doctors, like
Oh
how
no,
I don't like.
doctors just get really lazy.
That's true.
I saw a meme one time. It was like this guy that asked his brother who was a pharmacist what this doctor wrote, and he was like, "Oh, paracetamol," and it was like just PR and then some squiggly lines, and then
That's so funny. I write like a doctor sometimes. My dad's asked me before, like, why don't you go in the medical field? I can't. I can't deal with that. Can't do that. Okay, and then we can take out Mount Tambora.
okay.
That was just like a.
Okay, and so the Red Sea one, you wanted to try something that was like
Oh, okay.
figure
Do
out
you,
what like do you want to isolate different kind of factors that would figure out like isolate factors to see what they would um cause such a big thing to happen? Is
ooh,
that what?
yeah.
Okay. Mm,
And then Antarctica, you said. Okay, why isn't it affected by plate tectonics? Does anything affect the poles? But mostly you want to see. So those are your questions, but mostly how will it affect the rest of the plates above and surrounding it?
mm-hmm. See what will cause similar.
I'll add to after the first question, why isn't it affected by plate tectonics? Will it be affected over time slash in the future? Does that look good for that
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
Okay. And then tracking hotspots, using for geothermal energy, finding them to do it, live in safe spots.
What causes hotspots?
Mm.
And like mm,
I wonder if you'll actually like click through and watch these meetings.
that's gonna be a lot of time to go through, honestly.
I wonder if he's just gonna like look at them and like click through and listen to like 2 minutes of like our conversation kind of thing.
Oh, we were just warming up, to be fair, for the first few minutes.
I honestly, yeah, but I think like we were great. He'll probably like skip forward to the middle of it, to be honest. Like, we did
Right.
awesome. We'll be fine. Hopefully Emily can join us next week.
Hopefully.
So
Yeah.
are evenings really gonna usually work best for you?
Yeah, so with the way that my schedule has been panning out, yeah, because I just have to tell my boyfriend like, oh, don't come over.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, because like I'm actually usually free on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so that I only have one class. If you wanted to do it Friday night, because my Friday nights are going to start becoming really free because he has a thing going on as well that night, so I can actually definitely do it like at 7 to like 10. If you want to do that, we can do that as well.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. And we'll make sure, sorry, I gotta plug my laptop in.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
We'll have to make sure that still works with Emily too. Hopefully we can get in contact with her. It's just, yeah, it was kind of just like back and forth because she like wouldn't text. Or no, wait.
Yeah.
She would only email and you can't text.
Because okay, so the things that since I actually just flew into the country, like actually just 2 weeks ago, literally.
Yeah.
I still haven't gotten the same car yet, but I should actually have a number by next Tuesday or Wednesday. It should be set up by then. So I'll just post it. I'll send it send it to you guys through email, and so if you guys want to contact me there, you can also do it, or just do it by emails.
Honestly, I'm totally fine with email. I was a TA on campus too, so I'm in the habit of like constantly checking my email. Like I have it on my school email on my phone still, kind of thing. So I'm totally used to that. But either way will work, and we'll see what will work for Emily too, I guess. And the other girl dropped a class.
Oh, the one that's supposed to be in our group, right? The other one. Okay.
She just she texted me or something. She's like, I'm not in this class anymore. I was like, okay, bye. Never mind.
I want to drop it, but I don't want to drop at the same time, and I'm just like,
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a really cool class.
I just really like, honestly, I feel like I was because I was just talking to my boyfriend the other day. I was like, I just like literally threw myself into the deep end of a pool, and I don't even know how to swim.
Honestly, there are lots of. If you try the tutoring center, there should be like lots of people who would be able to help you. But geology department, like really great teachers, really kind, except for like one, he's kind of a snob, like a major snob.
Okay, who is that person that I need to avoid?
His name is Brother Gone.
Brother Gong.
Gone. Gahn. Pretty sure that's how you spell it.
He sounds Asian.
He's actually not. He's like Indian? No, he's like totally Caucasian. But I don't think he's married. He's just very
probably really salty about that. I don't know.
I didn't have a great I didn't have him as a professor, but I didn't have great experiences with him.
Okay.
Along with a couple other people I know, just like interactions wise. Just like not super professional. I was trying to get into one of his classes, but then but he was like at my another like the department head in the edution bar is like, no, you can't. But I emailed him and he would never email me back. And I tried to talk to him and he like wouldn't even talk to me. His TA is like, he doesn't like want to talk to anyone from the education department. I'm like, okay, if you just told me in person, like, hey, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to take this class, I'd be totally fine with that. I'd be off your case. But did not make that possible. So whatever. Anyways, okay. I'm gonna also press stop recording because I haven't done that yet.
Okay, that's